Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Karen McKinney. Former Special Counsel John Durham will be testifying before the House Judiciary Committee about the findings of his recently released report on June 21st. Republicans in Congress are frustrated about the report because, well, it didn't tell us much we didn't already know, and the possibility for indictments had already long since come and gone. But even what it does show has former FBI Director James Comey rushing to downplay and to make excuses for his actions. Take a look.
Do you believe now, as some of these politicians call for defunding of the FBI, that has been corrected and that now the procedures are in place to avoid those kind of mistakes in the future?
I think so. But in complex investigations, there's always going to be mistakes. It doesn't mean the FBI is incompetent, honest, and independent.
So, Director, with some distance now from your time there with that investigation and everything that came into that 2016 election, are there things that you wish you had done differently?
Oh, plenty. I mean, plenty of small things. In the main, I think the FBI did it in the right way during a very difficult time in 2016.
Listen to those spin doctors. Investigative journalist Julie Kelly responded today, quote, Comey used DNC/Clinton dirt source from a foreigner/FBI informant/lobbyist for Oleg Deripaska to lie to a federal court. He circumvented White House protocol to ambush Flynn. He told Trump about a non-existent P-tape to suggest Putin would blackmail him as president. He hid notes he took of private meetings with Trump. He repeatedly misled Congress, among other things. He belongs in jail, end quote. For this reason, our next guest, who recently spoke with former Trump foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos, argues we need a further inquest to the origins of the Russiagate inquiry. Joining us now to discuss is national security researcher John Rosamondo. John, thanks for being here tonight. Did the Durham report talk about the plot to ensnare Papadopoulos and, through him, Trump?
Absolutely not. That was one, it just went over it generally. The one thing that's completely missing is the involvement of a man by the name of Joseph Mifsud. He's a rather, obscure figure in all this. He was a Maltese professor who worked at Link University in Rome, which reputedly trained CIA officers and Italian intelligence. He had connections with Christopher Steele, the author of the infamous Steele dossier. And he was the individual who met with Papadopoulos in April of 2016 and told Papadopoulos that the Russians had Hillary's emails. Papadopoulos told me, contrary to what the New York Times and other reports had said, was that he never told anybody. He said that he believes that Britain's equivalent of the National Security Agency, the GCHQ, monitored his phone, and that they went after him in Europe because he wouldn't enjoy U.S. First Amendment or Fourth Amendment rights.
And it is interesting because a lot of Republicans have taken a critical eye to Durham and some of the limits that were set on the scope of his investigation. Many of that set by Bill Barr when he was the Attorney General of the DOJ. But when it comes down to what you're saying, what Papadopoulos has told you in this article, in this new piece, in this interview, do you think perhaps in some ways maybe Mifsud didn't come up in that Durham report because, as you said, it could open the door to other intel agencies and other nations, and maybe that's a can of worms that they didn't want to get into just yet? Because I think also in that same interview you have with Papadopoulos, not only does he talk about that, he also talks about Obama, but then he talks about, I believe, the Italian Prime Minister as well. Could you tie some of that together for us?
Okay, well, he told me that the last meeting that President Obama had before he left office was with Matteo Renzi, who was the left-wing Prime Minister of Italy at the time. According to Papadopoulos, if you have the involvement of the Italian intelligence agency, the British, and others. Actually, at that time, I was receiving updates from a source in Italian intelligence telling me there was a conspiracy going on against Donald Trump. We're talking around the time of the November 2016 election. So let's look it back up here. The only way that this could have happened with all these intelligence agencies looking to ensnare one obscure individual is if the President of the United States authorized it.